Today on the podcast, we have Evan from Parcl, your friendly neighbor and speculator. Welcome to the podcast, sir.
Thank you. Super excited. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. All right, before we get going about Parcl, why don't you give me a story about yourself and how you got into crypto and inevitably how you got to the Parcl team?
Yeah, for sure. So, how I got into crypto, a unique story actually. So, one of my friends, somebody introduced him into VeChain like very early. It was in 2020, and I watched VeChain just run up from like 3 cents to like 28 cents. And all my friends were aping it along the way. I was like kind of wary. I was like, I don't know what this is. So instead, I decided to look into the tech, and I thought, and at this point, it was COVID. Supply chain was a mess. So I looked into that. I thought the use case of blockchain technology, even outside crypto, was very cool. So that was kind of my introduction at the end of my high school career. And then moving into college, so I'm a student. I'm at the University of Michigan. I study economics. I'm a rising senior. And at my freshman year, I really wanted to join a blockchain student community. And I looked for one on campus my first few weeks of my freshman year, and I couldn't really find one. Looking back, yes, there was a blockchain student club, but they were having some issues with the school. They didn't do marketing for a semester, and I couldn't find it. So as a freshman, I was like, okay, blockchain's getting really big. I don't see any reason why there's no student club. So me and a friend decided to start a student blockchain club more focused on investing in crypto. And we had the goal of like, let's raise 10 grand and let's run like a crypto portfolio for the club. And it was DeFi summer, or it was the end of DeFi summer. It was a crypto bull run. So we got like 70 applications off the bat. That went really well. I soon realized that like I had to go educate members, and I didn't really know anything about the industry. So at that point, I had to learn a little bit. But yeah, that's like my introduction into blockchain and into crypto.
That's hilarious. And then so coming from there, how did you end up getting to Parcl? What happened between the decline at the end of 2021 into the bear market of 22?
Yeah, for sure. I was pretty passionate at this point, and I was like on a mission to build out this club. At this point, I started connecting with the other club presidents. So at the beginning of my sophomore year, I was like, I want to hit this session with a bang. So I was like, let's host one of the premier blockchains to host our mass meeting. So a mass meeting is like an introduction to the club. We get pizza, people come, just learn about what the club is doing. And we actually ended up getting that sponsored by Solana, specifically Solana University. And they ordered us like 10, 15 pies of Joe's. We got a ton of people there, and we did like an introduction into the club and an introduction into Solana. That went really well, and through that, I built a strong relationship with Dana DeGenius. She runs the Solana University. So after that, a few months later, it was Breakpoint in Lisbon, in Portugal, and she was like, "You have to apply, you have to come." So I was like, "Cool." So I just kind of dipped school for a week or two. I headed down to Portugal. And at Portugal, there was a Parcl booth. I didn't really know anything about Parcl at the time. I was still learning about crypto, really. And I thought the use case was really cool, like going long or short cities. I've really never heard of that before. With real world assets before everyone was talking about real world assets on chain. So I met Parcl there. I met Trevor, the CEO. And a few months later, we decided to do like a speaker series for the club at Michigan, where it's like we'll host people across the ecosystem, different use cases. And I reached out to Trevor, and I was like, hey, you have to come to campus, do a speaker session. He actually got injured like 2-3 days before, and he wasn't able to come to campus, but he did a Zoom speaker session. I learned a lot about the project. I thought that the use case was very, very cool. The student community loved it. What I did was like, I invited the whole real estate club, and I was like, maybe I could use this as a way to onboard all the real estate guys into blockchain. So we got a pretty good audience that way. And then through that, I built a relationship with Trevor, with Parcl. And then a few weeks after that, I just started hounding him, and I was like, give me a shot. I'd love to be your intern for the summer. You don't even have to pay me if you don't want to. And he gave me a shot. And that was last summer. Initially, it was just going to be a summer internship, and it was awesome. I love the energy. There's really a few people in the office every day. Everyone's working hard. Everyone wants to make it. So I ended up staying there part time during school last year, and I've been working during school. Had the opportunity to Breakpoint again in the Parcl booth, meet some people. So that's kind of how I got started at Parcl.
Damn, that's legit. Man, I got a bunch to touch on there. Everybody knows that summer internships in crypto aren't just through the summer months. Interns are forever. You talk to CMS about that. So no, that's good. And like, you know what? Good for you for like having the gusto to try and find a club, and then when you didn't find a club, start your own club. I wish that I was thinking like that back in 2009, 2010. I'd be in it. This room would look a lot different if that was the case. But aside from that, I think like I got a lot of questions I want to ask you about like I mean the university process, like and I don't even actually know much about Solana University. But before we kind of get into what the college kids are thinking these days and what that all looks like, why don't you keep telling me about Parcl? Like how big's the team? And you know what? Assume that anybody listening to this doesn't know what Parcl is. They live under a rock. Give it to us.
Yeah, for sure. So Parcl, I'm pretty passionate about Parcl. It's been a sick year. I mean, learning a lot. So that's been a really great experience. What Parcl is, so Parcl is a real estate DeFi product on Solana, where at a very high level, you could just long or short cities. So you think New York City is going to go up, you go long New York City. You think, Austin's going to go down, you could go short Austin. That's never really been seen before in crypto and in TradFi. So it's like a kind of a new market in a way where like evens the playing field for people around the world. So people from Australia, I know you said you're in Thailand. People from Thailand can just go log in on chain, get access to US and then eventually global real estate. So that's the vision. I'm happy to go into detail, obviously, but that's like a very high level.
These people are being rugged. Bad metadata. Their treasury is being drained. Pixelated crab NFTs are no longer the hip thing. The dev has disappeared. If this happens to you or your loved ones, relax. The Future DAO is here to save you with their newfangled token migrator tool.
I just called them.
I put the old token in.
And I got a new one and a fundraise out.
Now look at these people. They've been unrugged by Future DAO, and they've never been happier.
And it was so easy.
The Future DAO. For a better future.
Oh, definitely go into details. It opens up a lot of interesting things like, a savvy market participant in a hot rental market and real estate market. You say, well, you know what, I'm gonna hedge my rent and long the prices so that you can cut the difference on what your rent increase is. Of course, that's a lot of speculation, not financial advice. But yeah, give us the breakdown. How does it all work and what's kind of the goal with it?
Yeah, that's a good point. I just want to say nothing we say on this podcast is in any way financial advice. I'm just an intern. I'm still learning. So, do not take anything I say to heart. If anyone has any questions, just feel free to shoot me a DM and I could walk them through it. But nothing we say here is financial advice, obviously. So,
and I'm a tractor. I don't know what's going on either.
Exactly. So yeah, the real estate hedge is really cool. That's like a cool use case that people don't talk about too much. So there's these massive institutions, or like you said, renters that have a lot of exposure. So like let's think of a company, like a real estate company or an institution in the US that goes buys 10, 15 buildings. And then they get a bit worried and where they're like, real estate might go down. We have a lot of exposure. We don't want to part with our real estate. So what can you do? You can go on Parcl and actually take a short. That's really never been seen before, being that there was no such thing as a short market for real estate. Same thing with renters. So rental markets was just launched on Parcl about 2-3 weeks ago at this point. So there's like sales markets you can invest in based on sales and listings. And then you could also invest on rental prices. So now let's say you're a renter and you're scared your prices are going to go up. You could actually go short as a hedge. So that's a really cool utility. But to go back to the basics, like what is Parcl? What does it mean to be investing long short on cities? So Parcl, or the sister company of Parcl, Parcl Labs, actually tracks the price per square foot within an index. So you look at Miami, Parcl doesn't own any real estate. It's what you call a synthetics asset. So you look at Miami, Parcl Labs will track all the real estate within the city, and it calculates a median price per square foot. And then every day, based on sales and listings, that median price will update. So you're basically trading the median price of an index of Miami. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. It opens up good questions as to data. And I know you guys, a big part of your business is data. And so maybe we'll talk about that after. But breaking down, city limits, what defines city limits? Like, how many places are you pulling in information for price changes? And then on the same side, like rental aspects, like is it pulling off of Kijiji and Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace? So maybe touch down on like how it defines it and where it gets the information from.
For sure. So it comes from a ton of different endpoints. A lot of the real estate data is lagged. That's like one of the biggest issue within real estate. So like what most people use in the US specifically is something called the Case-Shiller. The issue with the Case-Shiller is that it comes out on like a 2-month lag. So, today it's June right now. Yesterday, actually, I think June 25th, today's the 26th. Yeah, June 25th, yesterday, the April data came out on real estate. That's on a 2-month lag. People can't really use that data, or they can use it because that's best in class, but it's 2 months behind. So what Parcl Labs has done, over the past year plus, is actually predict the Case-Shiller, weeks beforehand. Because, Parcl Labs had that data on May 1st. Yes, Case-Shiller may not be dropping it until June 25th, but Parcl Labs can actually just go and predict it. So predicting it over the last year plus, it's been like 98.5% accurate. And that brings a lot of credibility to the product when people are like, oh, the data's so good, it's tracking it, so correctly, we trust it enough to use the product. So that's really big. I mean, each country is a bit different when you're collecting the data and what city limits are. A lot of the time, government records are used, but I mean, to be honest, it's not my area of expertise, so I'll leave it at that for now.
That's fair. That's fair. So how many cities do you guys have in the US right now? And then how's your international market?
Yeah, so 18 cities live in the US right now. Miami City just launched recently, so it's cool. It's a cool use case. You could like pair trade Miami Beach versus Miami City if you have a prediction on one versus the other. If you're like a traditional hedge fund. No global markets are launched yet. There are a few in the pipeline. So like if you go on the site right now, you could see Paris and London. The price feeds are already there. So that's basically telling you the data's collected, just the market's not live yet. There are a few others that should be coming soon. So that's pretty exciting, but that's where we're at.
That's super cool. Yeah, like I was saying to you before, and I listened to your talk at Islandau. Great job, by the way. That was when I had known about Parcl, as most had, but I hadn't really taken a lot of time to understand it. And, we throw around this phrase, real world assets, and I'd said this to you before. A lot of people's fear is that there's a big difficulty between something being a physical real world asset and bringing that on chain and the trust assumptions that are in the middle. And I think what's really special about Parcl is that you're not holding physical assets, you're speculating on them. And so that makes it a lot easier to manage and honestly easier to scale. So that's really super cool.
For sure. It's like there was a whole meta about like fractionalized real estate on chain. The issue with that is like if you're buying in unfractionalized real estate, you have to go, there's like not enough liquidity where you have to go and actually find somebody to take your position when you want to sell out. The Parcl vision is much different, where it's like you could go in and out of trades within a minute. Anybody could access that versus like the people with exposure to that fractionalized real estate company can access that. So it is very different because it's more of a synthetics asset where it's like you're trading the prices more than anything.
That's super cool. What kind of features? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. You brought up Islandau, so I just wanted to shout out the Islandau guys. That was an awesome experience. Shout out Chico and the rest of the Dean's List and Skyrise. That was pretty sick. I saw that they just came out an announcement that they're moving to Thailand for post Breakpoint. Unfortunately, I have to go back to school because I'm missing the second week of school to go to Breakpoint. But I mean, maybe next year I could stay in around that area for a while.
Yeah, man. Come to my neck of the woods. The funny thing is after Breakpoint, I'm already flying back home for a wedding in Canada. So I, too, will, I think, miss most of it, which is a shame because it's literally in my back door. But yes, agreed. Huge shout out to the Islandau team. It was cool. I actually got to do a couple live podcasts filmed there with actually Dean himself and Raheem. And I was like, you know what? I actually really enjoy the live in the same room feel. So I don't know if you're going to Mountain Dow, but I'll be there and hopefully doing some.
You want to run it back? I might have to. If you're trying to run it back, I'll head down to Mountain Dow.
There we go. We can run it back. Absolutely.
Let's do it.
Yeah, it's a lot more fun. What I was going to say was, I kind of want to know about feature requests. Something tells me that you guys are getting a lot of interest from institutions that you probably can't talk about. Maybe you can talk to me about some of the most asked for things that's got your guys' team. You must walk into the office and you got Post-it notes and billboards everywhere being like, do we have to go after this market, or can we try to do this thing? Or how granular can we get within cities or regions or states? Or, maybe people are asking about what territories in Northern Canada, because that's a popular hotspot.
Yeah, it's a really good question because we get a ton of it. I don't even know where to go first. These smaller cities, I get a lot where people ask about like, can we do it at a zip code level? Yes, that data is accessible via Parcel Labs. The issue with that is like, you want to launch the markets that people are going to trade most. So it's like you got to launch the bigger markets before you're going to get into some of the smaller indexes. Like Parcel floated. So if you see on the site, I think it's still there. There's like a Solana Beach index where it was like for a little bit, Parcel was exploring launching a Solana Beach. Like, shout out to Solana. But the reason that, like, yes, hypothetically those markets can be launched, but there's much more interest in some of the bigger markets. So like, there's a vote right now where it's like kind of split between Pittsburgh, Dallas, and Tampa. Those are bigger markets. There's interest for all of them, so I think those are going to come first. And then on the other side, there's a ton of interest for global markets because most of the Parcel users are like the Parcel users want to be able to invest in their own city, and right now there's no global markets, so a lot of the users they don't really get that access. So that's what people are looking for. So that's really big. So that's like a major priority. And then I mean, yeah, those are some of the main points.
Market making. Can you touch on, how these markets are made? Is it like who comes in to provide the liquidity for the trades? Can you tell me anything about
Yeah, for
that?
sure. So there's a thing on Parcel. It's on most perps, but the funding rate. So the funding rate plays a really big role because people are taking fees to take the side that's like less skewed. So like let's say the pools are 90-10. Somebody's usually jumping in to take that 10% tide, bring it back to around 50-50. So if you go check the site right now, I'd assume that most of them are 60-40 and even closer because people want to take those funding rates. So that's who takes the other side of most trades, where it's like the people that are winning are taking money from the people that are losing, and vice versa. In terms of other, like, let's say the markets happen to be 90-10, and there's an update, and the 90% wins, and the rest would come from liquidity providers. So that's kind of who are the built-in market makers. And then the LPs are also getting like 70% of all trading fees. So that's where, in case of that very small risk, that's where it's kind of get mitigating for the LPs.
Nice. And is there a spot for native Parcel staking where it's kind of like the GLP, JLP, FLP from Flash Trade?
You never know. I mean, it's a good idea. I don't think it's on the roadmap right now, but I'll definitely float it. It definitely should be explored.
Interesting. Okay. Anything else you want to touch on Parcel before we take a little segue and get into the college section?
Yeah, for sure. So another thing I want to touch on is I want to go a little bit deeper into Parcel Labs because the real estate side plays such a really big role. So it's like a few weeks ago, Parcel Labs opened up access to the API. So it's like people that are technical could go plug into the API and get real-time access to real estate data, kind of a bit earlier than everyone else. Right now, the people like Parcel token holders will get access to this, or premium access to this by holding X amount of tokens. I think the number right now is 1,000, but if I'm wrong, don't hold me accountable for that. It's just learning. But yeah, so Parcel Labs plays a really big role in all of this because these markets aren't possible. It's not possible to launch these price feeds without Parcel Labs, being that there is no real-time real estate data today. So the fact that Parcel Labs was able to collect this real-time real estate data and then it's pushed into Parcel through an oracle makes it possible to trade these markets, where it's like without that, you would never be able to trade it because the real estate data comes out on a 2-month lag.
That's super interesting. And you're right. The discussion on data, and I remember I asked you this at Island DAO, is like there's a very real chance in the world where your guys' data solutions provide you more earnings and revenue than, say, the speculation on real estate prices. And so, with that in mind, like, tell us more about the decision. Well, I mean, I guess the decision was easy. You guys went and you couldn't. What was the case? Schiller was 2 months lag. You're like, we need to do better. So, can you tell us a little bit about the goals for some of the information and what you see end users of the API using? Where do you think they're going to go with it?
I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can go with it. Right now, a lot of the people are using it for like content. So what I've been doing recently is I've been repurposing some of the content that Parcel Labs is coming out with from the API to like Reddit. For some reason, I can't crack Reddit. It's like it gets taken down by the mods every time. But before they get taken down by the mods, the first one I did like 2-3 days ago got like 50K views in like 8 hours.
Whoa.
So it's like there is a real appetite for real-time real estate data, especially on the content side. And then you could also see it in like there have been Fortune articles that have referenced Parcl data, Forbes articles. It was on CNBC a few times where it's like they're using the Parcl Labs price feeds to actually showcase what's happening in real time. So, short term, that's kind of where I see it, but it's growing for sure.
It's an interesting onboarding that I hadn't thought about is, somebody's reading Forbes or The Economist and they're like, oh, real estate is trending in Kentucky. And they're like, whoa, trending in Kentucky, how come? And then they see that it comes from Parcl feeds and they're like, Parcl Labs, what is this? And they go, oh, it's a blockchain company. Oh, and you're like, how is it so fast? I don't understand. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Good on you guys for that.
Yeah, most I don't know if any really Web3 crypto companies have like a Web2 moat or something that could be used by companies in Web2 that have nothing to do with crypto really. So that's what makes Parcl so interesting in my opinion, where it's like this is totally separate from the product. Yes, the main utility of the Parcl Labs price feeds is for the product, and sure, it was built initially for the product or for people to be able to trade real estate, but it kind of has its own shelf life.
Yeah. Honestly, I kind of see like the Oracle solution here is the umbrella. And then under the umbrella, like the perp trading real estate is like one piece of it. I feel like a lot more will be opened up kind of as time goes on, especially if you're able to get access to international data streams. Like, I don't know if in other countries, like the lag is standard or maybe some countries are better for the way that they portray real estate, but pretty big market.
Yeah, from my understanding, most are lagged. The thing that it takes a bit of time to collect it because like everyone has different sources. It's different in some of these smaller countries. It's like harder to get the data. So who knows what it looks like in 3 years, 5 years, which markets are launched. I know that there are some in the pipeline, specifically ones that have currencies that are dollar pegged. So like think about places like Dubai or Hong Kong. I think those are being worked on. So it's going to be an exciting next few months, next year.
That's cool. I know what regions of the world I'd like to have up to date real estate information on, but I'll keep that close to the chest.
No, you don't.
You keep the best trades close to the chest.
You don't have to say if you're short or long on it. You could say you're interested because you could flip it. I'm interested in Paris because it's going to go up, but really you think it's going to go down. Get some good fun.
Paris is fun. I like croissants.
Yeah, croissants are good.
All right, let's segue, sir. I want to know more about this college journey, and I want to know about your ambitions because you're an ambitious chap.
Thank you. Yeah, so university students play a really big role in the blockchain industry. I don't think most people realize that. So like I'm at Michigan, I'm very involved in the blockchain club on campus. That's kind of it's become like a real passion project of mine, being that I've spent a lot of time on it. Where it's like it's gotten a bit hard to like split time. Where it's like I have a job, I'm very committed to my job. I want Parcl to succeed, but it's also like I gained a lot from being very involved in the university world in blockchain, and I want to make sure other students understand like there is this path that's available, and that it's a bit less competitive, you can say, than some of these like TradFi jobs because less people are looking at it. So that's a real passion of mine. That's like kind of, I have one more year to focus on that. So that's kind of what I'm doing, late at nights.
I kind of like, so I didn't spend any time in clubs, and to be honest, not a lot of time in university before I dropped out. But I do spend a lot of time now talking with people about onboarding, right? And how to get involved, and more specifically in the Solana ecosystem. And the way that I see college level, blockchain clubs is it's sort of like what everybody already has with some fire added to it. Because it's the ideal candidates. They're young, they're educated, and then they're interested. So Solana University, for instance, and I'm sure EVM has it all over the place too. So the recommendation for me is, and I tell this to people that have, that are 30, 40 plus that have a regular job. I'm like, look, if you just show up and you put in work and you join these super teams, you join these all-stars, and you join a community, like if you work hard enough, you will get the job you're looking for. And sure, you might have to go through an internship role, but inevitably you will land somewhere on a team that's hungry because the hackathons that are going on around the world, it's crazy how much is being built. And whether one fails or not is irrelevant. You just take steps. So tell me in even greater detail about where you want to take it. Tell me about the conference.
For sure. So let me give it a little bit context. Let me walk you through what Michigan Blockchain does as like a sort of a case study of what universities do. Every club has different focuses, but this is where I go. This is my level of expertise. So I'll run into that first. So what Michigan Blockchain does is I've had a lot of dilemma on whether to keep the club open or closed. What I've seen is like you kind of have to keep it closed and do interviews because it brings credibility to the organization, where like students don't really know if it's legit or not, so you kind of have to accept them. I might change it next year. I don't know. I can't really decide. But how it works really is students are accepted. Let's say 35, 40 students are accepted each semester. So there's 2 semesters per year. Every time students are accepted, they go through like an educational cohort. That cohort will be about 10, 12 weeks. It lasts a full semester. Sometimes we get speakers to speak on specific topics from different companies. Try to keep it as engaging as possible, have people build a project at the end. That's education. Then once you're through education, there's 3 different tracks you can join. One is consulting. So we have about 3 teams each semester that do consulting. We work with different projects in the ecosystem. Actually, a year before me, students at Michigan built like a testnet NFT marketplace with Solana. So we work with like the likes of Solana. I know members did like a research project with Layer Zero last year, built a Dune Analytics dashboard with Arbitrum. So it's good experience for students on like the research side and the development side. That's really good hands-on experience. That's one. Second aspect is investments. This was launched recently, last year. This is one of my favorite parts of the club because a lot of students want to learn how to invest and they want to get visibility from like their pitches. So what this company did, this company Collab Currency, they're a VC. They launched a spin-off group. I don't know what to call, like it's a spin-off something called DormDAO. And what DormDAO is basically delegating, a great name, and like their logos are ramen.
Yeah, I already know.
Out of here, their logo is ramen. It's awesome. So what DormDAO did was they basically delegated 25 Ethereum to start 8 university clubs in the US to run managed portfolios. So now we have a group of 15, 20 Michigan students that are very deep in the investment game because they want to beat the people from Texas or the people from Dartmouth. And basically all the students are competing against each other on investment portfolios. So
Nice.
we basically make these pitches. The club will vote on it through like a multi-sig. Then DormDAO will push the investments through. And now we're competing against all these clubs. And then all these decks are sent to DormDAO or to Collab Currency. They're reviewing the decks. They're forwarding it to their portfolio companies or to other companies that are hiring. And that's become a really good pipeline for students to get jobs, especially on like the research, on the VC, on, crypto hedge fund side. That's a really cool initiative. That's built a really great community because students love it. I think Michigan messed up a little bit, missing some of the meme coin frenzy, where some of the other clubs jumped us. But that's that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
You get too stuck in wanting to write a good research paper because you want to impress people. But then it's like, how do I write a research paper on memes? All you can really talk about is popularity and community. And then, honestly, even I had done it too. Got all excited, looking for fundamentals and value and the good projects. I can't touch that. And then,
Exactly. Michigan was like, we're going to take a different thesis and we're going to look at the fundamentals and the companies that are making revenue. And it works for a while. And it does work at times. And I think it'll continue to work. Obviously not financial advice, but there are a lot of cool companies that are making good profits that I think their tokens are going to do pretty well. But community is really big. Everybody loves the memes. That's onboarded a lot of people. So missing that has definitely hurt the portfolio, I think.
Honestly, it's like, and no financial advice to anybody. It's good lessons, right? It's really, really good lessons. And it teaches you a lot about millennials and Zoomers and our current culture. You can't really write anything off. It's hard to have a conversation where you say memes provide no value or anything. Even if they just collect mind share and get people to go on and try something, join a university club because they heard about WIF or whatever. You got to take the wins where you can get them.
For sure. Yeah. I want to get a meme to I haven't went into the conference yet that we're building, but I'm trying to get a meme coin to sponsor the conference because like students love memes. I think that hit home for them. So we'll see how that goes.
I think that's pretty possible. Maybe I can help you with that. Okay, now tell me about the conference, man.
Before conference, there's one more track of the club that I haven't touched on yet. It's the governance.
Sure.
I think it's probably the coolest side, and it's kind of over, like nobody really talks about it. So governance in blockchain is obviously really big. The community are the voters. Each protocol is decentralized. That's the idea. And a lot of these VCs, they have so much voting power because they're investing in these companies where it's like it makes it somewhat not decentralized. So what some of these VCs do, or some of these companies in general, is they're going to delegate the voting power to university clubs that are actually voting on the decision making of some of these protocols. So, students at Michigan are deep diving, writing proposals on what Uniswap should do about this fee switch, what they should do with, various other things. So Michigan does governance with like Uniswap, Compound, Aave, Arbitrum. So that's really cool. That's like, in my opinion, that's the best experience the student can get for like people that are really, really in. I never got that experience. I really want to do it. So my last semester, I'm hoping to go deep into one of these projects or one of these protocols and just, working on governance with the team for a semester. But that's like one of the biggest parts that like nobody's really talking about. That's like the coolest opportunity that you could have within being a student.
Man, God bless you students for wanting to get involved in governance. It seems like so many ecosystem participants could give a shit about governance.
But then,
it's a big topic.
yeah, but these companies come, like I have calls with companies all the time, and everybody's looking for the students that are doing governance. They're like, oh, can you connect me with somebody on the governance team? We think they'd be a great fit for our research role or for whatever role. So if any students are watching this, think about governance as a student, because that's a really great opportunity.
Honestly, I completely agree. To be able to write governance proposals, to be able to understand governance proposals, means you have to understand the product. You have to understand the project. You have to understand so many pieces of the economics, the addressable market. And so it actually does speak to your education on the subject. And to add to, your aspirations, dude, talk to MetaDAO. The Dean's List guys like myself with Future Protocol, bring Futarchy into the fold, right? They're circling back to being in America anyways, right? So if you talk to Profit, I think getting that involved at the university level is, especially with kids that are enthusiastic about governance, do they know about Futarchy?
I don't know. I mean, I do. I've thought about it a good amount, but I've never thought about it in terms of like, should Michigan blockchain look into Uniswap look into MetaDAO governance? I've thought about pitching it in terms of, buying the meta token for the investment club, not financial advice. But I've never thought about students actually looking into it and writing proposals on it. That's actually a really good idea. If this ever reaches, hit me up.
Well, we're gonna send it to him. You're an economist. You're studying. Are you a studying economist? Is that your? Okay.
That is correct.
That is what Futarchy is, right? It's trading on governance. It's understanding the economical impact of whether a decision should or shouldn't be made. This is your wheelhouse, man.
It's a really cool model. I mean, I don't know how it's going to play out, but it's like it's a sick thought experiment nonetheless. Where it's like, even if the token doesn't, whatever, go to 1 million, it's cool to see how this plays out and how it could be applied to like different industries. So yeah, shout out to Profit and all the MetaDAO guys, because it's pretty sick.
Yeah, Colin's chat too. Okay, on with the next piece, sir. We're getting there. Give me the conference.
Yeah, so I'm sorry if this podcast is running a little long. It's a lot to talk about, It's fun.
No. Good. This is good stuff.
So the conference. So next year's my last year. I wanted to close it out with a bang, and this is something I kind of see very necessary. So what we're doing is we're building out a Midwest blockchain conference. And the idea is there's so many East Coast schools that do blockchain conferences. There's a lot of West Coast schools that do blockchain conferences. The thing is with those, they're run very well. They're great conferences, but they're siloed to that university. A lot of the Midwest universities don't have those opportunities. So at Michigan, we were exploring doing a conference, like a Michigan blockchain conference. We ended up landing on the idea that, we should do something a bit larger and actually collaborate with some of the other Big Ten and some of the other Midwest clubs, building something that, we could kind of do together. So that's the idea, building out a Midwest blockchain conference. It's the weekend of November 8th and 9th. I'm actually planning on starting marketing tomorrow. So go check out, I think I'm going to make the username Midwest Blockchain. So go check out the Twitter there. By the time this is out, there should be some marketing material out there. So that's the idea. We have about 12 universities onboarded so far. So a few of them are like Michigan, Michigan State, Illinois, Indiana, Purdue, Wisco, Maryland, Minnesota.
Wow.
So it's a cool spectrum because like some of them are very advanced, where like Michigan does a lot of stuff. Illinois does a lot of stuff. So does Wisco and Purdue. But then there are some of these smaller blockchain organizations like Minnesota, like Maryland, that are just kind of getting started. And while the bigger clubs might use it as a way to showcase what they've done in the past years, showcase what members are building, some of these smaller clubs could come and use it as a way to source opportunities and build their brands. So it's like it hits a much larger spectrum. So like this is a real passion project of mine. So I'm excited to be talking about it.
No, man, that's awesome. I think it's a great idea. And like we can use this as well. We can cut it up for a little bit more marketing material for you.
Awesome.
And as we kind of talked before the pod, it's an awesome opportunity. And so, me, like I'm a Solana maxi. I'm also chain agnostic, believe it or not. And so I think, especially like in the US where there's a lot of buzz, and I talk to a lot of teams that are, slowly kind of venturing into Southeast Asia and of course have European presence. All I keep hearing is people kind of going back to the US. You know what? Sure, the regulatory piece is a bit of a headache for everybody, but you guys have a lot of talent and there's a lot of tech and a lot of people building. So if you're listening to this and you're somewhat involved with something like Super Teams or All Stars, you need to be having a presence inside of these college level conferences. Whether you guys move into a hackathon in the future or not, like I, for one, would want to have people there. Hell, let's put a future protocol booth there and try to onboard to our
Let's
calls.
do it. 100%. And yeah, that's the idea. I mean, the idea is, so I was actually talking to somebody from Brazil today and I was inviting their club out there. They do a hackathon. So like ideally we have people from everywhere. We want to subsidize a lot of the students coming. So it's like the idea is a student conference. These students don't have so much money. Like I'm looking at this dorm Dow sticker of everybody eating ramen. But like the idea is let's have students come at the lowest cost as possible. So we're going to have to subsidize that through sponsorships and stuff. So it gets obviously a bit harder to get some of these like international universities there because flights are so much more expensive. If they want to cover the brunt of it, then obviously we can make that happen. But year one, we're keying in on the Midwest or just the US specifically. But yes, that's the end goal. And then you mentioned boosts. So the idea, a lot of this Midwest talent gets somewhat overlooked. And that's kind of unfortunate because, some of the best killers in blockchain happen to be, in the Midwest. So let's aggregate all the Midwest talent at once. Let's get, 10, 15 companies that set up boosts. Let's hook up the top sponsors with interview rooms so that they could schedule interviews beforehand. And let's get students in the Midwest and some of these larger companies just to start a conversation so that, they could build relationships with these blockchain clubs so that they don't need to go through this conference to do projects together. Yes, Michigan does consulting, governance, and investments, but Maryland doesn't and Minnesota doesn't. But they might have the students might have the capacity to do so. So let's help get that started. So that's like the real idea. I'm from Jersey, so I grew up around the New York area. But I've gotten a little softer being in the Midwest. Everyone's got to work together. So that's the idea.
Honestly, dude, it's great. And like to touch on what you're talking about bringing the university students in, the special thing about crypto, and I know right now we talk about crypto as this, far down the risk curve technology sector piece, but I have a theory that in the future, that kind of disappears as if we were talking about the internet. You don't talk about the internet as a sector. The internet is everywhere. And in the future, my opinion is that crypto will be everywhere. And so you can open the doors to medical students, lawyers, people in the arts, creatives, NFTs, designers. You can go economists, financiers, business side, engineers, obviously, the full stack, front end, back, web dev, you name it. It's like there's almost not a faculty in university that isn't applicable to a certain degree, even as far down as athletes, right? Like a lot of sponsorship happens, and so there's an important piece for everybody to play. It's honestly, it's why we're both here.
For sure. I mean, there's still a big stigma around it. I think everybody in the industry knows it, or like from conversations that they have. So like people talk to me and like oh, you're in crypto, and like it's like I wouldn't say they're judging, but like there's some sort of stigma around it. So like the idea is with the event, let's invite students that are in real estate to learn about companies like Parcl that are building something with real utility. That other than a wallet and USDC, it's like people wouldn't even realize. Like looking at the site, you wouldn't even realize it's built on blockchain or it's a cryptocurrency. So it's like it's going to kill stigma also that way. And like I think that's really important to start onboarding people because like people still have like hesitations towards it. There are people in the government that are kind of against it for whatever reason. Majority of the reasons, in my opinion, aren't so real. So that's where it's like, the next few years I think are going to come, where it's like people are starting to realize that, it's something that's here to stay. It's legit. It's not really used, for like terrorism financing or whatever they say it is. And it has the
Right,
utility that,
right.
like, is advantageous to kind of even the playing fields for people around the world. Um,
Man, let's get you access to like Helium Mobile. They come there and they set up a booth, and it's like people coming there can onboard to Helium SIM
yep,
cards.
that's good.
Hive Mapper, another Silicon Valley company whose entire story was predicated on
Yep,
having to have the blockchain, right? Like, there's so much that can be brought
exactly.
and shown to these people that they're like, oh, whoa, like, what is this stuff?
100%. Helium actually they like sponsored a basketball game, like a college basketball game at U Miami last year. So I'm looking to get in touch with them. Maybe we could do something for a Michigan football game. I tried really hard to have the conference on a Michigan football game. And like the school is being really receptive. They've had like a bit of a 180 where it's like they weren't sure about blockchain. Now they're kind of standing behind us, realizing the club is like a value add to the university.
Sick.
But unfortunately, I couldn't get a football weekend because I would have been like, this is amazing. You're coming to Michigan to a blockchain conference, but you're also going to watch the national champions play a game of football. So maybe year two,
Shit, that would be legit.
it could be during a football weekend. But yes, Helium's cool. Hive Mapper also, I'm looking to get in touch with them. We're going to do a cool deepen panel. I think some of their founders are actually Michigan alum, so that makes a lot of sense too.
Oh, wow.
There's a lot of alum. Like I'm trying to get
Perfect.
Anatoly. Anatoly went to UIUC, so it's like UIUCs are direct partners on this. They're doing a lot of the sponsorship outreach, also being that they're also pretty big. So it's like, let's go get all the alumni from all these universities and have them come present at the event. So that's the vision.
Okay, I like it, man. I'm here to support it. You let me know what I can do to help.
A presence is
All right.
Maybe we could do a booth or something. I'm always down.
There we go. My first. All right. Before we wrap this up, sir, anything else you want to touch on that we haven't talked about?
I think we hit most of the main points. Something that I thought of a minute ago when we were talking about Helium. I think that's how it came up, where it's like Helium, people can afford wireless so that they could go have a $5 plan or whatever it is, $20 through Helium Mobile. That's one of the reasons I think Parcl is so cool also, where it's like a lot of these people, like we have a really big Brazilian community. A lot of the people were at Island Isle in Greece. I sync with the team there. And I think one of the main reasons that we have such a good relationship with that community, or why they really resonate with the product, is because their currency, is a bit more shaky, where it's like they're not sure if it's going to go up or down. They're scared to hold the currency. There's a lot of inflation at times. That's, I think, a selling point for crypto in general, where you could just get exposure to US currency through USDC from anywhere, from your phone. But then to layer on top of that is like you can go get exposure to real estate around the world, from your phone. Where it's like instead of having to hold real estate in your home currency, in your homeland, or currency in your homeland that you're kind of worried about, you can go get exposure to places like New York, like Austin, like LA. So that's like a really cool, that's what it always comes to when I have these conversations, where it's like, that's what makes Parcl so cool to me.
I love that. Great ending point. All right, sir, before I let you go, I'd like to ask my guests one question. What was the thing that has kept you sane since joining the college club in DeFi summer, going through the bear market, whether it was lifting, playing chess? What does Evan do?
It's a good question. You just got to touch grass. I mean, I log off on Saturdays every week, and I just stay off socials and just kind of live life and explore. So that's kind of kept me sane, where it's like you work really hard on 6 days, take one day off, and kind of just live your life. So that's been really big for me. And then what's kept me sane, like more on a crypto level, is like I have a lot of conviction in the technology. I have a lot of conviction in what I'm doing on the university level, and I have a ton of conviction on Parcl. So it's like if you have a lot of conviction on what you're building, then there's no reason to stop or to get worried when things happen on the day to day. So that's kind of what's keeping me pretty sane.
Love it, dude. Great advice. Great conversation. Have yourselves a lovely day.
This is awesome. Thank you. It's my first ever podcast, so I appreciate you for having me. This was an awesome experience.
Well done. Good job. Peace, buddy.
Thank you.
All right, let me just stop the recording. Yep.